A little bit of happy but yet sad news. Brian Radowitz, who you've all come to know, and does just an amazing job for us, has just been informed that he's going to be promoted to the new Director of Communications at Questar. That position is going to be effective at the end of this week. And I kind of listed some of the things Brian has done, but he's had a huge impact on our district, from written communication to social media. Our footprint is literally as big or bigger than any district in the capital region. And as you can imagine, we are not the biggest or even close to a district in the capital region. So tremendous work that Brian has done, and we wanted to acknowledge him and his work. He's sort of behind the scenes, but has been a very valuable contributor to our school district, and he will be missed. Which is a wonderful segue to Brian's latest video on the celebrations of success. So that concludes the superintendent's report.
Thank you, Jim. There's always much. I want to go to the French tournament. I seriously do. We have the elementary learning team up next, unless there's any questions for Jim. Everybody good? Everybody happy? All right.
This is our third and final of the learning team presentations. You've heard from the high school and the middle school, and wrapping it up this year is the elementary school. Obviously, we're missing a principal. Dennis is off today for personal reasons, so he was unable to join us. So we thank Carrie and Josh for joining us. We'll turn it over to them.
Thanks, Jim. Hello, everyone. I'm Carrie Rochard, principal at West Sand Lake Elementary, and I'm here with Josh Gella from Post and Kill Elementary. We are one leg short here with Dennis not here, and he sends his apologies and wishes he was here. but he unfortunately couldn't be with us tonight. But he helped plan this presentation, and Miller Hill is represented in this presentation as well. So thanks for having us today. Wanted to start by just kind of setting the tone here that this is our elementary update. We only get to come one time a year and give you guys an update on some of the amazing things happening at the elementary level, and also, you know, our goals and the things that we're working towards. I think the highlight of you know, our work, it kind of culminates a lot of effort, and we're proud of what we get to share with you all. One thing that we thought would be a good way to start is this quote resonates. Every child has a different learning style and pace. Each child is unique, not only capable of learning, but also capable of succeeding. And that goes along with our mission here in Averill Park, meeting the needs of and creating opportunities for every student every day. And at the elementary level, that is ever more clear each day as we work with students in kindergarten through 5th grade, huge span of learning styles and needs. So we're gonna talk to you tonight about some of those. Let me first mention that I wanna say thank you. We're gonna jump into objectives and action steps, but I want to thank all of you for your support. The community, the Board of Ed, we couldn't do this without you, and we feel very supported by you and the work that we do. The district office leadership team, our colleagues at the admin level, and of course the teachers, staff members who do the work right at that ground level every day. This is the fruits of their labor as well, and I want to make sure I recognize them as we talk about our objectives and action steps. They've had a lot to do with this, and every day are a part of it. I'm going to just pass it to Josh. He's going to talk about, we have 3 goals that each year we set up objectives and action steps for. They're SMART goals. So Josh is going to speak about the first one, which is our college and career ready goal. I'm going to speak about the student engagement goal. And then Josh got the short straw. He has to do the 3rd one since Dennis isn't here. Here you go, Josh.
Thank you. You might end up having to deal with us kind of playing the microphone game a little bit today. So as Carrie mentioned, I'm going to start with goal 1, and I'm going to finish with goal 3. She's going to take care of goal 2 and kind of talk through that. So every year we've been kind of working through this, and you know, as the years go, obviously there's new board members that join us, and then there's board members who have kind of seen our structure and how we kind of present from time to time. And we do like to continue in that kind of consistent way. So obviously we have our district goal that has remained steady over time, especially goal 1 regarding our students will graduate college and career ready. We know through the professional learning that we've been through over the course of time, that reading fluency is a key indicator in life success, life earnings. It has a big impact. It's one of the few dynamics of an elementary school education that really can link to future performance, not only just in college and careers, but also in career earnings and such. So we have kind of continued this goal. You're going to see that our target is actually the same as last year's, which is 67% proficiency, which is the same as last year's. But last year we were pretty aggressive, I think, in what we were looking to do. And although we didn't reach that goal, one of the things that I kind of look at it as my own personal kind of weight loss goals, even though I don't hit the goal ever, I get closer, and that's kind of what we're looking to do. Is we're looking to get closer, and over the course of the last, sorry, hearing myself here. Over the course of the last year, we did close that gap pretty significantly. But we do know that we want to be able to get to that 67%. And I do want to point out that at Averill Park, we don't necessarily set a low bar for ourselves. We have a high bar for ourselves as professionals. Our teachers have a high bar for themselves, and we have a high bar for our students. So when you look at it, we are marking proficiency at the 35th percentile, which is not necessarily what an RTI model marks proficiency at. It's not necessarily what some of the other benchmarking tools that we utilize. We are using that 35 percentile as kind of our proficiency, because research does show that if we are able to target 35th percentile and above, we can really make some good gains from reading fluency as well as reading comprehension. So data is a big part of what we do on a daily basis, not just at the administrative level, not just at the elementary leadership team level, but even with our teachers, we are moving towards this. It wasn't too long ago that this actually, what data was a district goal that we worked towards. So this is kind of how we measure, and we kind of check in periodically over the course of the year. So you have last year's data on this SMART objective, and then on the bottom graph, you will see the target line is our 67% target. And then you see fall data is already in. Winter data is going to be coming in end of January-ish. And then our May data is our spring data. And that's really ultimately our spring data is where we're hoping to hit that 67%. So the structures that we are approaching, reaching our goals at the elementary level are consistent year to year. So you can see that the far left side of this chart is our district goal. Then our SMART objective is in the middle. And then we look at it and really kind of break it out across our grade level learning teams for what are their action steps. What steps are they specifically going to take to help us reach our SMART goal, which will help us reach our district goal. So that system is the same, and you'll see it again for each one of our goals today. But I do think it's important to be able to share with you that this system is part of, I think we believe, some of the success that we are seeing is because of this consistent approach to it. So I'm about to show you some data using our fast bridge reading fluency. Obviously, it's going to be about reading fluency. That's what our SMART goal targets are. And this is what we utilize for our benchmark data. This is the fall, winter, spring. In that previous graph, this is grade 1 through 5. Obviously, kindergartners, we're not doing fluency. We have benchmarking to assess them, but it is separate from the reading fluency. What you're about to see is a cohort of students, so same students over time. And that's really the important part of this graph, the graphs that you're about to see. And I would preface by saying, if we keep it at like that 10,000 foot view, because what we're really trying to show is trends and the impacts of our interventions. So I will go pretty quickly, not looking to get in the weeds as much, certainly happy to answer questions, but what we want to see is that trend and then kind of be able to talk to that a little bit. So what you're going to see, obviously with any graph, you need a key to kind of understand it. My quick version of this, blue and green, good. Yellow and red, not as good, right? So yellow and red, that's the stuff we work on a daily basis. Green and blue is what we're really working for. This is 100% based off of the reading, fast bridge reading fluencies that we do throughout the year.
What is CP? You know, CP.
Yeah, it is. It's proficiency from the fast bridge, and I would have to jump back into to figure out what the C part of it. Actually, I think it's college career path or something along those lines. But I can check on that and have Matt get back to you.
It's blue. No,
It's blue.
It's blue.
It's the
Yes.
top one.
Yeah.
Good, I can remember.
All right, so what you have in front of you right here is our 5th grade cohort. So this is currently our 5th graders across all 3 elementary schools. And what I really just kind of want to show, because it's going to be the same graph, except our cohort of students are going to change. So we're going to see 5th grade first, then 4th grade, 3rd grade, 2nd, and 1st. And what you're going to see is, obviously, 5th grade we have the most data on. We have all the way to the left is 2021 school year. So that was post-closure. And what I want you to see is like that trend, as I was kind of speaking to earlier. What we want to do and what we want to see as a school, as school administrators, as school leadership, as teachers, we want to see those red and yellows getting smaller and those greens expanding. So you can see that over time. If you look at it very holistically, over time, green and blue is getting larger, and red and yellow, especially in the fall of this year, has decreased over that amount of time. That is something that we want to target. Remember, this is a grade 2 post-pandemic group, right? So the closure was in March of their first grade year. So they were home instruction, virtual instruction for their last trimester of first grade, which when you look at it from that standpoint, that is a big part of emergent literacy and a big piece to try to make up from a computer-based model. So over time, we have been able to do that. Same graph, this is just our fourth graders across all 3 buildings. And again, you're going to see all the way to the left, 2021, first graders, and we see that decreasing red and yellow, increasing green and blue. Same thing here, this is our current third graders across our buildings. That trend is happening. And again, we're keeping this at a very high level, and we're looking at that trend and decreasing the amount of needs and filling gaps along the way. And then this is our current second graders. Obviously less charts because they've been in school less, but that same pattern. We are expanding our green and our blue, which is what we are really looking for and striving to do. And this is how we are closing gaps. Obviously in this one, you know, a lot more red, a lot more yellow in the fall of 22, fall of 23. We've significantly decreased those students in that area. So what we're looking at is information to kind of share with you to show since the disruptions, the learning disruptions of 2020, we've worked really hard and found success in closing reading fluency gaps. We continue to work through these trends, watch closely these trends, even with a decrease in AIS providers. So obviously those board members that were a part of last year's budget adoption process, one of the things on the list last year was AIS providers. We had a 33% reduction in our AIS providers. So what we're really looking to do is be able to hopefully maintain these trends over time. But we know that with every cut, there's a cost, right? And we are hoping to be able to support the interventions that help close these gaps over time while adjusting to 2 AIS providers per building. And as a result of that, right, we know that even though we have some decreasing needs and we're filling gaps, when we look at what we have available in resources and what our needs are, we have had to cut back a little bit on what students we are able to provide interventions to. And we usually try to in the past with 3 providers, we were able to go from the 35th percentile and below and really target interventions around reading fluency. And we've had to kind of cut back a little bit on that to the 25th percentile and below. All of that being said, what we really kind of view as the contributing factors to this success, I do feel that there's a lot of success to be had in kind of that 10,000 foot view. You know, the district over time has invested a lot in professional learning, whether it be super kids and how do we fill gaps, what's the best way to utilize resources and target explicit reading instruction, to providing the support for rolling out our new ELA curriculums of last year. There's a lot of success to be had in our elementary leadership team, which is not just elementary principals. It is also our teacher leaders, as well as additional administrators from the special education and Kate Dorgan, who has so many roles, I can't remember her title, but they're also very valuable members of that elementary leadership team, as well as our grade level teams that spend a lot of time working through their standards, identifying essential standards, really focusing on the most essential reading strategies and kind of assessing students along the way. And then finally, a really systematic approach to RTI in our district, and that's something that continues to evolve, continues to be able to identify ways of branching out and reaching tier 2 and tier 3 interventions. We utilize our data, we have good, strong RTI meetings, and we're able to put into place interventions that target students' needs And it kind of goes back to Carrie's first slide. We know that students all learn differently, and we're able to put the intervention that they need in place. We're able to make gains. So, I think we have a lot to be thanking teachers and the elementary leadership teams for all of their hard work, as well as the district office for supporting the professional learning that has helped support this. But we also know, based on Dr. Franchini's, budget kind of projections, doesn't look like things get better. So we have to kind of continue to find ways of doing more with less. So we're hopeful that we are able to kind of continue to work towards that. So with that said, we're going to turn it over to Carrie for goal 2.
No. Thanks, Josh. Goal 2 is a little more of a newer goal for us in the scheme of when you look over years and years of data that's been collected. You could see with reading, we have many, many years of data and consistent programs to look at when we talk about student growth in reading. This one's a little more gray, but something we've been doing for a long time and really trying to track now and put interventions in place. Goal 2 is about students productively engaging in their school community. We set a goal to have 90% of our students in grades 2 through 5 identify an adult from school who they can count on, and we would measure that with a survey given to students. Of course, we're working on this with kindergarten and first grade, but we felt that the 2nd through 5th graders were a little bit more able to express that than the K and 1 students were. But what we do is really a K-5 initiative. So where we started in the spring of 2023, we used a survey, the Panorama survey, to measure if students had someone that they could count on. And when we did that survey at the end of last year, we were at 88% of students who felt that they could identify an adult who they could count on. We always want 100% in this. That's why when Josh talked about, we don't have a low bar, we have a high bar, but we also are understanding that, a percentage is a lot to move in a larger amount of students. So our goal is 90%. And I wanted to talk a little bit about the why on this goal, because post-pandemic, I think this has become ever more clear, the importance of students feeling connected to school. We know that kids who are connected to school engage in healthy behaviors, they're more successful academically. This is all based on research, lots and lots of research. And we know that there's a lot of factors that increase that school connectedness. So we're going to talk a lot about all of these things. Our goal is measuring really the first one, which is adult support and relationships. But there are many other factors that are part of an elementary school that go into feeling connected to school and academic success. So that also includes a sense of belonging in peer groups. We want to make sure that kids have friends that they connect with, that they feel part of a group, whether that be their classroom community or their school community. We want to look at school commitment and involvement, and that includes parents. That is about really kind of thinking about involvement and feeling like you are invested in your education, you believe in education, that it's important, and that your family system supports that. Our school supports that, our school board, our district administrators. And then finally, the school environment. That's really like our culture of what's around us, right? We have to feel safe when we come to school. We have to have a positive outlook. That includes discipline. So all of these factors are really important, and they all add up to success in this goal. I feel like I'm privileged to be able to share some of the fun things that we do to try to get at this goal specifically, although I do know that from all of your wonderful videos from Brian Radowitz, you get to see a lot of the day-to-day things that we do in school. But I will highlight a few here for you. You saw this before. This was same as the structure that Josh talked about. We came up with our action steps based on grade levels. And one of the ways that we are this year focusing on this goal in particular is a grant that we received through New York State, and it's the MTSSI grant. I'm not sure how much you guys have heard about this, probably a little bit. That it's a 3-year grant through New York State, and we're working with a coach from SUNY Albany. And we're currently in the first year of this grant, which is focused on behavior, which is a great tie-in to this goal because this was an area that was a little different across the elementary buildings. Not that we didn't all have the same belief system, but the way we were doing things were a little different. So we were trying to come together and have some consistency. So we're all working as a district team, and then we have building teams on a positive-based intervention system. So PBIS, you've probably heard of it. And we're just developing those structures this year. We're looking to have common expectations, common language, ways that we are teaching students, because a big piece of PBIS is explicit teaching, not assuming that kids know exactly what to do and how to do it, but really having that common language, having positive reinforcement, problem solving when problems do come up, and then how are we dealing with discipline issues when they occur. You can see on the right side, this is actually kind of like hot off the press. Our building teams just created what are called a matrix for our PBIS expectations. And Miller Hill they're all a little different. They're mostly the same, but this is the flavor of the building. So each building got to do this, guided by the research and the same coach. But Miller Hill is respectful, responsible, safe, and kind. PES, safe, kind, and respectful. And Wesleyan Lake is ready, respectful, responsible, and safe. They're all around the same ideas, but really also focused on what each building needs, which we felt was important in this process as well. So here are some of those pictures of some of those community building things that this is a very small piece of what we do to try to increase connectedness at school so that students have adults and friends and the community is involved. We have K-Kids at PES and Wesleyan Lake. Miller Hill has a student council. We all have building assemblies and school-wide events. We have PTAs. We do things like One School, One Book to really incorporate that culture of reading as a school. We have Girls on the Run, which is an awesome program that you saw in the slides as well, and just had their 5K. And then each of our buildings does have some different things too. So Wesleyan Lake, we have the 1211 special education program, and we started an ambassadors group this year to really provide some opportunities for general and special education students to be integrated and work together in team building situations, not just academically. But we think these are all pieces of those factors that contribute to school connectedness. And they're so important, and we really work hard to connect what kids do at school throughout academic, social, emotional learning. And I think there's so much more I could add to this. I'm sure you guys could all think of things too. But one of the ways that we structure it in our classrooms, because you need to give time to things. If you want teachers to work on something, you have to build it into the schedule and give it time and focus. And so classroom connections time is in every teacher's schedule. We give them 15 to 20 minutes to meet. They have classroom routines that they engage in, and a lot of them are focused on our character ed initiatives and our positive-based intervention systems. We do classroom circles, you can see in the pictures, having discussions about how you're feeling, talking about things you like, things you don't like, getting to know each other, building relationships. All of those things are important and really make a difference for kids. You can see some team building activities, buddies sometimes in different places, different buildings have reading buddies. But we really value this time, and our character ed committees in our buildings are helping to lead the initiative of classroom connection time and giving teachers resources that they can use during that time. This year we have another resource that we're using called Second Step. It is a program that our counselors are utilizing to push into classrooms and provide some tier 1 level support. You heard Josh talk about RTI. I know these are a lot of acronyms. We have RTI for our counseling as well. So we have tier 1 instruction, which is everyone getting that first level of instruction and good teaching. So our counselors in all 3 elementary buildings, this is the first time we've kind of all gotten on the same page, are working towards 5 lessons at least per grade level, using the Second Step curriculum as a resource, and really making sure that everyone gets that good, solid foundation of teaching and strategies. And then we can kind of decide at that point who needs further intervention. And at that point, that RTI model kicks in and we look at tier 2 and tier 3. So which students need additional support, whether that be small groups, individual. That is a really big piece of what we do in the elementary school. All right.
Before we kind of turn to goal 3, one, I think next year I want to share all the fun stuff like Carrie just did, because there is so much fun things that we do to get students connected to school. And it's not just about having fun. Actually, there's a lot of research that shows when students are connected to their schools, you're creating a safer school environment for everyone, a more inclusive one, and one that is proactively approaching safety. And we do a lot around school safety, and we spend a lot of time and energy and money around school safety. But kind of what Carrie was able to just share is that we are able to kind of use this community building strategy to not only make students feel safe and engaged and want to come to school, but we're also making them understand that school is a safe place. There are adults that want to help, and that we want to collectively, as a school community, whether it's West Sand Lake or Post and Kill or Miller Hill, you are a part of a bigger entity than just yourself. And there's a lot that we do on a daily basis. Our teachers work very hard to help make sure every student feels welcome each and every day. And that's a big part of what we focus on too. There's a lot that we do on a daily basis. And today we're just presenting around our district goals and how we're helping to support reaching those goals from an elementary perspective. Goal 3 has been the newest of the goals. And it's really more about what we need to do to prepare our students for the society that they're going to be a part of. We know that students need to be digitally fluent. We know that it is a very heavily technology influenced society that they are approaching, and that their careers and their college lifestyles and all of those are going to be influenced by that. And we do have a role in helping to support students in approaching that. So when you look at our SMART objective, full disclosure, this has always been a challenging SMART objective to write at the elementary level, because we have students entering us at a kindergarten level and leaving us at a 5th grade level. And there's a lot that happens during those 6 years with us. So I think what it is that what we're trying to achieve is that they're able to utilize a digital tool to create an artifact and then be able to navigate their Google Drive. And part of that is also Google Drives are kind of like the binders of old, where you have some kids who just shove stuff in there and they fall out, except things don't fall out of Google Drives. But they could just end up being kind of a mess. So part of it is how do we create this system and teach the skills to be able to navigate that. So again, that same structure, each grade level has different action steps to help us meet our SMART objectives, to help us do our part in reaching our district goal. So with that being said, New York State has helped us to move the ball on this one. In 2020, they adopted these standards for computer science and digital fluency standards. And we've kind of had a little bit of time to kind of navigate this, get to understand it a little bit better, and figure out how we are going to be prepared to implement for next fall. And one of the things that we've worked really hard this year on is how are we going to build capacity to support the standards that New York State is asking us to meet, and also our district goal and SMART objective as an elementary team. And we have worked with our instructional technology specialist, Melissa Weatherwax. Library media specialists have been heavily involved in this, as well as our classroom teachers. And I probably should have had a bullet in there for Matt too, so I apologize for that. But he's very, this is close to home for Matt, and we've been very thoughtful in how we're going to approach this work with teachers. So in that top graphic there, the 4 standards that are on the left and the 1 standard that are on the right is kind of how things have been divided up at the elementary level. And a lot of this work is working with, in collaboration with, library media specialists throughout the 3 elementary buildings. And a lot of the 4 standards on the left, a lot of that is going to happen through library media. The digital literacy piece is really where we incorporate a lot more from classroom teachers and how we can help support them. The next graphic down on the right-hand side there is what digital literacy actually breaks down into and what that actually looks like. And you can see kind of almost how it's going to start appearing differently at different grade levels. We go from proper keyboarding to communication and collaboration in a digital way. So that's a pretty big gap, right? So when we're talking about first graders learning to navigate a keyboard properly because of the importance of them being able to utilize that for their future, compared to maybe 5th graders sharing a document, collaborating within that digital document, and creating a final product. In trying to understand this and really look for ways to be able to navigate this, we've implemented a very thoughtful plan on how we're able to work with our teachers on the digital literacy aspect of that. And Melissa, over the course of the next 4 months, starting in January, is going to spend a day each month in each building where she is going to work through each of the components of digital literacy. We will introduce a topic at a faculty meeting and be able to kind of dive into that. And then what we'll end up doing is Melissa will meet with each grade level team to say, what does this look like for 1st grade? What does this look like for 3rd grade? And how can we kind of start incorporating and moving towards integration of the standard? And will then lead to grade level conversations at our ALT academic leadership teams. Yes. Okay. So we're hoping to be able to spend a month diving deep into one of these aspects. So very much a shared responsibility here to be able to help support this goal. And it's a shared responsibility because there's a lot that is covered underneath these standards. And this is just kind of a very small picture of kind of what we're looking at. And it just hopefully shows the variety of things within our New York State standards for this work that we will be covering over the course of the next several years. At the end of the day, I think what we really are focused on is supporting our teachers through professional learning, professional development, and being able to support them in, digital literacy, to support their students, creation of digital artifacts, navigating and organizing of the digital artifacts, how to integrate technology and take something that maybe didn't involve technology, but maybe there's ways to incorporate that collaboration. And the kind of balance there is, obviously there is a balance. Anytime we talk about technology, we want to talk about it through the lens of balance. We don't want it to be all or nothing. I don't think that's a safe approach for really much of anything. We do know the benefits of technology. We do know the challenges of technology. We do know, there's a lot of parents in the room here today. We know that side of technology too. So we want to approach this in a meaningful and thoughtful way, and not approach it without that idea of a balanced approach. So that's the direction that we are working on, and our grade level teams are working on that one as well. So with that said, we do have a lot of technology that happens on a daily basis, from integrating technology into music lessons, to fifth graders, navigating some of our robots in library media, to kindergartners learning the difference between a Chromebook and an iPad, and a variety, and even some desktops in some libraries. So being able to have multi-dimensional skills for a variety of technology too. So it's about integration. It's about coming together as an elementary level to be able to kind of help support our students and meet the needs, and be able to reach these standards in a meaningful way. So that concludes this part. Dennis said he was going to handle all questions, so if you want to email him, please feel free. But no, seriously, if there's any questions, we're happy to do our best, minus the CP question.
You know how I feel about that. Go ahead, Jen.
I have a question. So on goal 2, when you were talking about that grant, you had mentioned the common expectations and common language, and then there was a couple other items. And by common, do you mean throughout the grade level, the building, all 3 buildings? Like, is it specific to each building, or how does that work?
It's a great question. So each building has their own common language and expectations. We did a lot of professional development with our coach around, what are important things that you need to include in your matrix. We all have similar places, so learning spaces like classrooms, hallways, bathrooms, cafeteria, playground. Those are all this, common across all the buildings. The specifics of what we might say exactly in that building might be a little different. So for instance, one of the things we talk about at West Sand Lake is whole body listening. So we teach kids whole body listening shows you're ready to learn. And we teach kids what that looks like. That might not be exactly the same in another building, but they're teaching them their way of how to get ready to learn.
So if you say that to a first grader or a fifth grader, they both have the same
Correct.
expectation.
In the building, yes.
In the building.
Yep,
Yes,
yep, and that's actually part of what we are assessed on, and our coach comes to the building and speaks to kids and adults and asks them questions, and that's part of our assessment is can they talk about the expectations in a consistent way? Are they earning positive reinforcement? Are they teaching explicitly? So we're all going through that same process, just the language might be a little different.
Thank you.
So just a couple of things. I just want to circle back to the literacy piece, goal number 1. I wanted to ask if, acknowledging that maybe you fell a little bit short of the goal, which, it takes, a certain amount of awareness, like self-awareness to be able to do that. Were you able to identify any of the barriers that are preventing you from reaching that goal so that you can address them and get closer to it in the future?
So I think one of the things was we had a very lofty goal for 1 year's growth. We were at 60%, and we went to 67%. So trying to attain a 7% gain, I think was just a little lofty for us. When we meet with our elementary leadership teams and we really dive into the data and really kind of look at it, and we try to make part of being a SMART goal is that it is attainable, and we do think that it is attainable. And I think we showed that there was a lot of progress able to be made towards that goal. But I think a part of it might have been just a little bit too lofty for that. That being said, I think that what we did is we kind of looked again at this year's data, and we kind of had our end of year meeting with our elementary leadership, and we were able to kind of talk through it. We took obviously a less lofty goal, right? A year ago, we stood here and presented 60 to 67. And this year we're going 65 to 67, right? Part of the reason why we have made an adjustment the way we did was the loss of an AIS teacher across the board. We knew that was going to have an impact because we were able to have less students receiving reading targeted interventions from a specialist. So that was part of the reason why we kind of pulled back a little bit on as lofty of a goal for this year. So we do think that a 2% goal increase in our goal this year, we again feel that that's attainable, but we also know that with a 33% reduction, it may be, we face challenges. As a result of that, we've really spent some time at the beginning of this school year across each building focused on tier 2 interventions within the classroom provided by the classroom teacher, as opposed to a tier 2 or tier 3 intervention from an AIS provider. So when we cut back from the 35th percentile to the 25th percentile, obviously that's less students who are getting specialized interventions. We're not just saying good luck to you. We're saying, we need teachers to be able to provide some tier 2 supports, progress monitor along the way, and we've made adjustments that way as well.
Awesome. I think it's important too for the community members in the room tonight, and then also for the community who may be watching at home. Just for point of clarification, the loss of those AIS teachers was a direct result of the lack of funding from the state. Their lack of interest in equitable funding for education for rural and suburban schools leads to a reduction in services for these children in this community. So if you're sitting at home and you're outraged by that, there's some stuff you can do about it. I also would like to congratulate our elementary education teachers for really all of the extra work that they do, aside from having to fit into that 20 minutes a day of the classroom connections. There's a lot of planning that goes into making that 20 minutes a fruitful, worthwhile piece of time for the students and for themselves. And I congratulate them on all of the extra outside work that they're doing, because they also have to meet a lot of unfunded standards that are laid out by the state that are required for them to meet. Thank you.
No problem. And I agree with everything you said. It was not that we wanted to cut that. We were in a situation where we had to make cuts due to funding. And I agree with you. We agree with you wholeheartedly about the teachers and being able to do all of that. And we shared just a snippet of what's related to the goals. There's math instruction, there's science instruction, there's standards and things across the board that they're working through as well. So we certainly concur with that.
Is this,
is this digital goal the initial step to tying into the high school digital portfolio too? I mean, is that ideally is going to continue to build throughout their?
Take this one.
Oh, absolutely.
Here's what it is. Yeah, it actually it came out of an idea from a different group, our teaching learning cabinet, this idea of a portfolio. And so each level, K-5, 6, 8, 9, 12, kind of took a segment And the idea was, let's not worry about a portfolio at the elementary, but let's build the skills so that when the kids get to the middle school, they can start to actually turn that into something tangible that they can build going forward. So they're getting a little taste of it without, putting a lot of pressure on them having to create something. But once they go to middle school, it's exactly what we're hoping to have happen, is that
That's
this
what I
is
figured
the
it
building
was.
block.
I figured it all together.
That would have been my answer too.
I only looked at him because he was in the other presentation, so.
I feel like I could use somebody to clean up my Google Drive. Like 3 of them. There was a lot that jumped out at me. I didn't have any questions, but one thing I really did appreciate was you mentioned something about working with teachers to check in where kids are at. So they're not assuming that somebody knows something. And that's for me, that's one of those kind of fundamental things that professionals may tend to forget. And, even teachers, their whole job is to teach, but to take a step back and say, do you understand where we're at? And to empower kids, again, that sort of goes back to, do I have an adult I can trust? Do I feel comfortable enough with my teacher to look at them and say, I don't understand what you're telling me? And not be embarrassed and not be self-conscious about it and just be like, I don't get it. Because if you're not able to do that, then you'll miss out on anything. And it's like somebody with a kid who is like very proud of herself and thinks she is very smart, and she is very smart. She's very smart. But she doesn't know everything yet. And so she sometimes has trouble saying, I don't know that. And so creating an environment where kids can feel comfortable doing that is, gosh, if you can't do that, then you're toast later. Thank you guys. Anybody else?
Well, just thank you very
Yeah.
much for all your effort.
Big time, seriously. Thank you guys so much.
Thank you guys for your support.
Hopefully we'll see you tomorrow morning. No disrespect, it just means we'll miss the West. I see Mr. Galvin. Okay. Where are we? Oops. We are at the public comment section for items on the agenda. I have no blue sheets. So we can, the room's good, we can go straight to the approval of minutes from November 15th. Can I get a motion? Megan first, Jackie second. Any discussion on the November meeting? All those in favor of approval? That is unanimous approval. Can I get a motion to approve our consent agenda, business, personnel, and special education? Jessie first, Megan second. Any discussion on consent items? Jessie.
I wanted to thank the Able Park Booster Club for their donation of a TheraTouch LX2 laser touch therapy unit with a modality cart. Don't quite know what that is, but I think it's probably valuable. It does, it's really cool. But thank you for their donation. I wanted to also thank the Booster Club for their donation to help the indoor track and field team, and also to acknowledge the donation from the Hannaford Helps that is going to be used by the Able Park High School. And one other thing I'd like to note is item number K here in the business items is I just want to thank Yvonne Phillips for her dedicated effort to doing the tax collection. I'm sure that's not an easy, fun job. I mean, people to hear taxes and they cringe, and if you're the frontline person, I mean, she's got the great personality to do it, but I know it's a lot of work, and I appreciate her efforts.
All those in favor? Yes, and abstaining, that is unanimous. Check that, okay. We are at item 9. Whoops, sorry, we're at item 9. Can I get a motion to approve the Averill Park High School varsity track and field out of state event at Springfield College on January 7th, 2024? That was Megan first and Jackie, did I see that? Okay.
Jackie can have it if she wants.
Any discussion?
Just my usual advocacy for the correct number of chaperones for these events. Super, super important to me to make sure we have I know they always do, but I have to say it because God knows things happen, so just add one extra.
I just want to wish them luck.
Yes,
I don't like ribbons, and they do.
Yeah.
All those in favor? That's unanimous. Item number 10, and can I get a motion to, how am I saying this, to, what, did I miss something?
Go ahead.
Okay, just a motion to, I guess, amend the language, no,
Just adopt the resolution.
what's that?
Just adopt the resolution.
Just, okay, motion to adopt the resolution, just as it, on the firefighter ambulance exemption? Okay. Jackie and then Michelle seconds. Discussion. Jim, do you just want to explain? Since we did.
Sure, and Carrie can jump at any point. That was a misstep on our part. We thought it probably would have been fine technically, but we didn't want to take the chance, so we're just modifying it, readopting it with the language to make sure that our volunteer ambulance workers are included. And there's no, nothing vague about it. So,
And just again, to confirm that this just affirms our original intent.
right. Yeah, it was a semantic issue. The word was left and got caught. So we apologize for that and wanted to fix it as soon as we could.
Any questions, comments? Okay, all those in favor? Any against? No abstentions? That's unanimous. Okay, policy items to discuss. We can start with the first reading on policy 0100, non-discrimination and equal opportunity. We've all had a chance to review this prior to coming here. Does anybody have any questions, comments, changes they want to make? Okay, I've also received nothing from Adam indicating any changes he would want to make. If anybody feels like we want a second reading, we can have a second reading, but if we are happy with this as is.
The only reason why I would suggest a second reading is because I would prefer for the board to be here in entirety before we formally adopt, and just to give everyone the opportunity, that's all.
No? So we can table, well, not table, we'll just call the first reading. What's that, just?
Yeah, go for the second reading.
Yeah, we'll bring it up for second reading in January. January, okay. Again, first reading for 2210, the board organizational meeting. Do we have any commentary on that? This is a short one. And again, go ahead.
This one, I would make a motion to waive second reading and adopt as written.
Can I get,
Somebody needs a second.
Jess, so
No.
Jackie, Megan and Jackie. Okay, so we can open that for discussion. And Megan, just to clarify, or Michelle, did you want to? Okay. Just to differentiate, this is a slightly less substantive.
Yes, that's my point.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. If there's no discussion, I can call for a vote. And all those in favor of approving policy 22, waiving second reading, approving 2210 as written, all in favor is unanimous, no one against, so, okay. Policy 2382, broadcasting and recording of meetings. Can I get, oh, sorry, first reading, go ahead, Jen.
Can I make a motion to waive the second reading on this one?
Can I get a second? Megan, discussion, Michelle, or will you just second it? No. Any discussion? Everybody happy? Okay, all those in favor? Michelle, did you want? No, you can, any against? Any abstentions? That's unanimous as well. So again, we've waived the first reading of 2382. We have the second, I'm sorry, we have the second reading. This is the first reading. Sorry, I'm going fast. All right, and that passes. We have adopted 23-18. First reading on 43-21.12, timeout and physical restraints. Megan.
Sorry, this would be one too that because of the substance abuse nature, I would prefer that the board be in its entirety before we adopt.
Uncomfortable. Okay. Does anybody who is present want to weigh in on 43?
I would agree with Megan on these two policies, the 0100 and then this one that we're talking about now. They were a little bit more onerous for the committee to get through, the policy committee to get through, given the nature